You are now tuned into Flippin' the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to the draft recap of your dreams. We have Gino Camilleri from Locked On Eagles, and I also have my lovely co-host Chris Infante, who's very distracted by Marquise Goodwin and his wife right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Marquise Goodwin's wife might have just ended Greg Ward's Eagle career.
Let's not say that, man. Greg Ward is a savior from last season.
Like he just it's quite possible that Marquise, the Eagles brass are probably gonna be like, oh, Marquise Goodwin's wife wants 84, huh?
See ya, Greg Ward.
See ya.
So speaking of Greg Ward, the Eagles.
Speaking of Greg Ward, what does it have anything? What's
well,
the next?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Nothing you're gonna say has anything to do with Greg Ward.
You're gonna like how I do this, right?
Stop trying to make a transition out of nothing.
You're gonna like how I do this.
It's not that clever.
You're gonna like how I do this, all right? I know you've had a rough day. You haven't seen a barbershop in like quite some time.
I know. I
get it. I understand.
That's why I'm wearing a hat, bro. I
Look
wanted to show it.
at all my grays. My grays are out of control right now.
But so speaking of Greg Ward, the Eagles added some good ammunition that actually may push him down the chart. Don't you like how smooth that was? That was so smooth.
That was as smooth as gravel.
So with that said, let's actually take a look at what the Eagles did this weekend. And I do have the RAS scores from our good friend Kent Lee Platte, and I said it right this time, Kent.
Yeah,
It's
without
Platty?
him on the
I always thought it was Platt. I never knew that.
Without him on the pod. You're gonna disrespect him on the pod and then wow, look at you learning how to screen share.
Look at this. All right. I like this. So, first round pick, Jalen Reagor, took him at 21. A lot of Eagles fans were fuming because CeeDee Lamb actually fell all the way into the laps of our rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, who probably would ruin his career.
It's true.
It's very true.
I'm not gonna say no.
It's true.
So, are we happy with the Reagor?
How bad do you have to feel about CeeDee Lamb to go from playing with Heisman winner Baker Mayfield, who's nothing in the NFL right now, really, but he was dominant at Oklahoma. Heisman winner Kyler Murphy.
Kyler Murphy.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Kyler Murray to playing with second place Heisman Trophy winner, current Eagles running back, wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, offensive tackle, Jalen Hurts. And now he has to play with Dak Prescott. I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I saw him there at 17, and it was too much of a Jerry Jones pick to pass up, honestly. I mean, he's still trying to relive the early 90s era of Cowboys football. But they don't have a defense, man. They don't have a defense.
They lost so much. They lost Byron Jones. They lost Tyron Crawford. They lost Jeff Heath. They lost Malik, what's his face, right? Collins, whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
They lost him. They lost Travis Frederick. Robert Quinn. They lost. I know Travis Frederick's replacement is Biadasz.
Which people were upset about that we traded with them. Like, I was not a big Biadasz fan in this entire process at all, to be honest.
I mean, I think people were more pissed off the fact that we just traded with the Cowboys to begin with. But I don't want to do with any deals with the devil. But right now they're gonna have a rookie or Joe Looney dealing with Fletcher Cox and Malik Jackson and Hargrave and Derek Barnett, rejuvenated hopefully Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham and Yanni.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves yet, but they did take the burner that we do need. I'm excited about this pick, Jalen Reagor. I mean, lining up on the opposite side of Deshaun Jackson. Now you have, I don't want to bring him up yet, but we do have Goodwin. Put Goodwin in the slot. I'm honestly not disappointed at all that they took Reagor over Lamb right now.
I think Howie kind of stuck to his gun. I mean, I'm upset they didn't get CeeDee Lamb. Like, I'm the biggest Sedarian Lamb fan on the face of the earth. Like, don't get me wrong. But
imagine Merrill Reese saying, touchdown, Sedarius.
Yeah, that would be great. I think he'll put some spice on the Jalen Rager. I'm a big Game of Thrones guy, so I always think of Rhaegar Targaryen. I like that if somebody will do a nice little mock-up of that, fan fiction mock-up. But I believe that Howie stuck to his guns and his ideologies that he kind of put into play in this offseason. I think Justin Jefferson is that pick at 21 any other year besides this year in the draft, just because of how Howie is picked. I think you look at that JJ pick last year, and that was the college production, had almost 1,500 yards his senior year. With Jalen Rager, it's a projection, but to me, you have every single tool to succeed in Doug Peterson's offense in Jalen Rager. And who better to learn from than Deshaun Jackson to improve his route running, to really amp up his downfield presence, and he's going to be getting the ball from a quarterback who can actually throw the ball, not the 118th out of 120 respective quarterbacks in the NCAA. And to me, Rager is a home run pick.
Yeah. Right, and even if, like, let's say Alshon Jeffrey's still on the team, so you learn the speed aspect from Deshaun, and you're learning the high point, box out aspect from Alshon Jeffrey, one of the best box out receivers in the NFL. Like, how many impossible catches that he's made in his lifetime, especially on the Eagles, in playoff circumstances and all that. So, I mean, I personally don't think Alshon will be around, but still, if he's around, then you have two great mentors there. Even if he's working from the slot, then he can talk to Ertz and Goddard about the way to work the middle of the field. So he has so many options as to how to teach him. There's no way he doesn't succeed, and like he will have every single opportunity to succeed. And like I've seen an argument being made that Jalen Rager will never be that 100 catch 1,000 receiver in the NFL. The Eagles don't need him to be.
No,
like it's this offense.
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, like Ertz has been the only closest to 1,000 yard or more than 1,000 yards in the Eagles in a few years. So, I think the closest behind Ertz has been Jordan Matthews. Years ago he was 3 yards short. So the Eagles, Doug Peterson's offense, you don't need a true number one receiver. You need a bunch of playmakers, and that's
Absolutely.
exactly what they got.
I completely agree with that. And the fact that you're adding another burner on the outside just really helps with the middle when you have Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and they can finally heavily rely on the 12 personnel idea that they've been trying to input for the past couple of seasons. Now,
if you had Justin, real quick on that, if you had Justin Jefferson there, I mean, you're going to have a guy that you talk about, Chris, that has 100 yards, and he's kind of like that Jarvis Landry type. But it would be so redundant to have a third player that does exactly that. If I want somebody to go over the middle that I know can take a hit and catch the ball in traffic, I'm going to do it to Zach Ertz, who's been doing it the past 7 years. I'm not going to bring in another guy that does the exact same thing. I'm just as confident in Dallas Goedert, too. Give me some guy that can open this defenses up, because when's the last time we saw it? A healthy Torrey Smith and Mike Wallace for one game? Like, we haven't had a field stretching element in years. And, I mean, we won't get ahead of ourselves, but Jalen Rager was only the first stop on this speed train. Man, this is –
it was a speed – it was a
bullet train, to say the least. And I'm super excited the direction that Howie took in this draft.
Like all those Japan bullet trains has nothing on the Eagles offense right now.
Best 4x100 yard dash team in the league.
So walking away from the speed element right now, we got to enter the danger zone in Philly right now. So in the second round, the Eagles selected quarterback Jalen Hurts. And I'll admit, and Gino, I had to put myself in check, and I saw Gino commented right away when I did. This pissed me off more than anything, because it was kind of like, Carson Wentz, like, he has to deal with another quarterback breathing out his neck. It has a, like, he's healthy. Why draft this quarterback? But then sitting back for a couple of days and actually thinking about it, where it's like, dude, you're getting a young quarterback. It's going to cost you about like $4 million, 4 years. He may not even see the field. But if you think about last year where Wentz went down in Seattle, if we had a player like Hurts that was a bit experienced, or even, still a rookie, we would have had a better chance to win that game. And Howie Roseman said it best on this morning when he was on a local radio station, where he was kind of like, I don't want to be in the position where our team can win and we miss out. Like, that cannot happen. And I completely understand, because it's like a head coach in the varsity basketball. They're gonna put their best option forward before what any other players are gonna feel. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about emotions. It's not a game about emotions. It's a business. I'm completely behind this, because Hurts can run. Hurts opens up the offense for so much more creativity with the 13 coaches that we have on the offensive side of the staff now. I'm a fan of this. I'm actually not gonna lie. I'm a huge fan of them selecting Jalen Hurts, and I really don't care that it was in the second round.
Chris, you want to go first, or I
Hold
see you
on,
scratching your head?
So I had a tweet that said, "Hey Carson, Mims was there. Could have drafted Fulton, Chin, or Davis, but we wanted to be a QB factory. Hope you understand." Yeah, I think I was so depressed when that happened. Like my wife was on house party and shit, and on Zoom and all that, and she was ready for me. Like, "Are you gonna play in this?" I'm like, first of all, I'm watching the draft. Second of all, the Eagles just drafted a quarterback, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, and she's like, "But isn't Carson always hurt?" I go, "You're gonna sleep on the couch." I was like, "If you talk like that again in my house, I'm getting divorce papers." It just ruined my fucking mood. It just ruined everything that night. I had tweets about fire Howie. I'm done with it. Like, you don't draft Taysom Hill in the second round. You don't. I'm still by that logic, no matter how okay with the move I am now. You know, it's just, I think now what bothers me has been how he's reasoning about it. Like, he's just been talking in circles and putting his foot in his mouth with all this stuff. I think he saw the response from the entire fan base, and I think he's just trying to defend it. Whereas what he should have done is make the pick and just say, "Listen, we think he's going to be great for this football team. He's going to be an asset to this. Carson is 100% healthy. Carson is our franchise quarterback, and that's it. Hurts is going to be in competition for the backup quarterback position, but right now what we envision him being is in that Taysom Hill role, that Lamar Jackson role when Joe Flacco was a starter, that kind of thing, and just be done with it. You know, going on all these radio shows and all this stuff saying like Carson's our quarterback, Hurts is there. He had that comment about Carson was uncomfortable, but was Zach uncomfortable when we drafted Dallas? You know, that stuff, like, it's just
unnecessary.
It's just adding more fuel to the fire. Like, people were so angry, but I will say that Michael Kist had a tweet out, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, saying he's never seen the Eagles fan base turn a complete 180 on a pick so fast in his life. And in regards to now, like a day or two after, people are settled down from the rage, the absolute rage from that pick, and realizing, okay, we have a quarterback that has completed 2 out of 4 seasons healthy. Yes, 16 games, but he does have those 2 seasons where he had a freak injury on a helmet to his knee that shouldn't have labeled him injury prone at all. Third year in the league, he was rushed back to a season where he shouldn't have been rushed back. We should have let Foles ride out a little bit. I know Foles was awful to start the season, but still, let him heal up. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And then he's overcompensating and his back blows out. And so, but then we have 16 games out of him this past year, and then he gets blindsided, slammed on the ground, and concussion. Where every single report has said Carson wanted to come back in, but he wasn't able to because of rules. Carson didn't take himself out. He didn't refuse to go back in. He wasn't permitted to go back in. So the dude wanted to play, but he couldn't. It's as simple as that. And every single report came out that said if they would have beaten Seattle, he would have played the next game. So all that stuff about him being injury prone, I get it. It's an insurance plan. It's not drafting him like, okay, when the next time Wentz goes down, we have Hurts. It's if Wentz goes down at all, like there's a chance of a quarterback being hurt for every single quarterback in the league. There's only so many Eli Mannings who never gets hurt and who never misses a game. I know Dak. Dak is a mobile quarterback who I don't know how he hasn't gotten hurt yet, but he had a shoulder thing last year that the Cowboys want to say, oh, that's why we lost the game. Shut the hell up. It's all these quarterbacks nowadays. It's only a matter of time before Kyler Murray gets knocked out of a game, especially with his line the way it is. And you look at Deshaun Watson. Everyone wants to talk about Wentz, but no one talks about Deshaun Watson. Like, Deshaun Watson is great. He's missed more games than Wentz has,
right,
in less amount of time. So, Wentz, he's our franchise quarterback. He's going to be our franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. Whether Hurts is there for the next 10 years or not, which I'm sure he won't be it's up to how he develops. Maybe he only develops to just a backup quarterback no one wants, or maybe other teams see the value in him. Like there's many teams with old quarterbacks.
A lot of options.
Let's say the Bucks next year, 2 years from now, say, all right, Brady's out, we don't have his successor. What do you want for Hurts?
Right.
It's maybe the Colts. I know they drafted what's his name, Eason, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And his quote was, "I'm gonna compete my nuts off for the Colts." And we got more on nuts later on. Stay tuned.
Oh my god.
So maybe they don't like Eason, maybe they trade for Hurts. There's gonna be so many options down the line where maybe a Vikings-like scenario comes around saying, "Hey, we need a quarterback. Here's a first-round pick. Let's get Jalen Hurts." That's it. So we don't know. That's
I'm not
angry anymore.
No, I was definitely shocked more than anything. Like it was just like one of those things. I was like, "What?" That says Jalen Hurts on the TV. But I'm a super analytical person. I have a accounting master's degree, so it's always my type A personality to try and rationalize why everything happens. And I've read Zach Moore's Over the Cap book, and Brad and Jason from Over the Cap, they came out with a book called The Drafting Stage. And I've kind of taken this analytical approach, which many franchises have. And one of the things that stood out to me was how much the Eagles truly put money-wise into backups the last couple of years. And they were paying backups.
It's been outrageous.
Near fringe starter money. So now looking at this pick, yes, it's a second-round pick. Yes, there were talent on the board. But how he addressed all of those areas he may have selected at 53 later on, and we'll get into that. And I applaud him for that. But to look at this pick and say, oh, we could have just waited, there's nobody at the talent level of Jalen Hurts. Nobody even brings the same level of game plan. Cole McDonald doesn't do that. Jacob Eason, he couldn't run me down. Like, I'm not the fastest kid in the world, but Jacob Eason sure is no great athlete. Jalen Hurts just brings this winning upside. He's been in the same scenario as Wentz. Who better than two guys that have overcome adversity to be in your quarterback room? So to me, not only are you going to have somebody that pushes him mentally in the quarterback room, you're going to have somebody who pushes him on the practice field. You now have a cost-controlled rookie quarterback that's going to be on, like you said, Brian, a super cheap deal. Money matters now in this post-Carson Wentz contract extension, which, by the way, they cannot get out of in any year because the dead money is banana land crazy. Yeah. So to think that he's not going anywhere, yeah, he's not. He's here. He's the franchise guy. Howie Roseman, to me, he doesn't draft for 2020. He doesn't draft and make that pick if he knows that 2020 he's on the hot seat. He's thinking 2023, 2024, 2025. And yes, it's the greatest insurance policy. And what is the chance that your house burns down? Like one in maybe every 1,200 people or something.
You still buy insurance on it.
You still buy insurance on it. And for us, I cringe at thinking when Wentz went down against the Rams and him getting hit against Jadeveon Clowney. But to say I would much rather have a Matt Moore in there or a Josh McCown than Jalen Hurts, you have to be an insane person to say that.
Absolutely.
Like, look yourself in the mirror and think about what you just said. And to get back to that 2017 play, if you're in the red zone and you want to make it 11-on-11 ball and make it so the quarterback has to run, you put Jalen Hurts down there in that package, and Carson Wentz is playing in the playoffs because he doesn't have to put his body on the line. So not only are you doing so many things to protect your quarterback, you're protecting your franchise. I mean, I'm sure they had the discussion with Carson, and they paid the guy. Like Howie Roseman,
there's no way, and Howie said that.
Shell out money to people that he doesn't believe in. Fletcher Cox, he paid all the money in the world. Zach Ertz, he's paid time and time again. Lane Johnson was a drug suspension away from never playing again. Like, if he trusts you, he will give you that money. And what he gave Carson, that is 100% trust. And to me, this Jalen Hurts pick does right by Carson Wentz, showing you're our guy. And god dang, if you go down and you can play the next week, we want to make sure we get to that next week so you can play. Because to me, they win that game in Seattle if Jalen Hurts is in that game.
Absolutely.
And no questions about it.
And if we had Kevon Wallace guarding
over Marcus Epps.
So, we're all on the board for Hurts. Now, we get into the the excitement of the draft.
Yes, sir.
Eagles finally drafted a linebacker in the 3rd round, Davion Taylor, Colorado. I mean, he's a rocket.
He's quick. The thing
Yeah,
is,
very
like,
fast.
who knows if he can really tackle?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the MO of every Eagles linebacker. So why not get someone who's the same as every Eagles linebacker?
But the good thing is that
They've done decently well so far. So why break? Why fix what ain't broke? Well, I mean, they're really bent. They're not broken yet, but they're really really bent. But Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley, they're both really 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 quick.
Mm-hmm.
Both have tackling questions. But that can be taught. You can't really teach the quickness and the explosiveness that they both have. You can work out on it. You can work on it, but that would take, if they didn't have the explosiveness that they have, that would take probably dropping weight to get to that point. But the fact that they're at that weight and that size with that explosiveness, you could teach, the rest. You could teach the fundamentals of the rest. So the fact that it showed me that they look at the aspect, the outlook of the league. The Dak Prescotts of the world, the Kyler Murrays of the world, all these mobile quarterbacks, Tom Brady's, just kidding. Even Danny Jones can move a little bit. They got Dwayne Haskins, all these quarterbacks that can move out of the pocket. You're going to need some linebackers that can catch up to them. How many
Not
times
Nick
have
Fury.
no, not Gary.
Get him out of here.
How many times have we seen, Dak Prescott, he's mobile, but he's not a runner. But how many times have we seen him extend the play and get a first down because we have no one that can catch him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now we got Sean Bradley back there. Now we got Davion Taylor. Maybe Jatavius Brown is something that we can see. People are really, really, really high on Dante Olson, the undrafted free agent that we got. So it looks like they're finally addressing the linebacker position, not to the point where we thought they would, or we would want them to, like a Patrick Queen or Kenneth Murray or Logan Wilson or Keem Davis Gaither or Justice Sternad or Troy Dye or we can go on and on or anybody else. But the fact is that they spent 2 picks on linebackers. Casey Toohill was drafted as at the end. I know it says linebacker on the screen there, but he was announced as at the end. And his defensive end score just drops a little bit to about 9.5 on the RAS score. Still really, really, really good.
Very good.
The fact of the matter is, like if you look at the screen, if you're familiar with RAS, relative athletic scoring, the green is elite. Like, as you see, like Kent put on the top left, like over 8 is elite. 5 to 8 is okay, and under 5 is bad. The Eagles have had a lot of bads in their time, but I don't look at the score as a whole. I look at the scores that really matter. And like when you look at an offensive lineman, is their shuttle really good? They might have a really bad RES, but that might factor in their 40. That might factor in their size. But we gotta look at their shuttle. Defensive tackle, defensive end too. Like, is their 3-cone really good? Like I was banging the table as well as so many other people for Derek Tuxa. And he had the best 3-cone of the whole draft for defensive ends. That means that that defensive end can take that his leg will bend in angles that you've never seen someone's leg bend before, and he can turn around the tackle and get to the quarterback. So if you see the 3-cone is in green and that shuttle is in green, then they got a good athletic profile for end or a tackle. Don't worry about the other stuff. That's why we don't care. This tackle ran up 6 seconds 40. I don't care about their 40 time. I care about their 10-yard split. Can they get up to the second level to block for Sanders? That's all I care about. Everything else. So we don't care about if they can run down the field. So the Eagles look for explosiveness, and they really, really, really got that in this draft. I was planning on running the numbers as far as every other team in the league to see how explosive they got in their draft. But just look in front of you. Out of the 10 picks they got 6 greens, 3 yellows, and I know Prince couldn't do anything because of his knee. But people would have, if Prince wasn't hurt, he would have been a higher round pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
People have said Prince has been one of the steals of the draft, along with Kevon.
We got a lot of steals in this draft. And speaking of Kevon, since he's the next one on the list, I'm super stoked about this pick. Kevon, so a funny stat that I saw today, Kevon Wallace had a 92.1 PFF coverage grade since 2017. And that's number one amongst all the safeties that were drafted in this specific class. So to get a player of that caliber with that kind of energy, where he's bringing back that kind of Brian Dawkins style energy in the 4th round is a killer. Like, I'm blown away by this pick.
Yeah, I love this pick. I was really disappointed when I read that they could have picked Jeremy Chin at 53.
Oh my God, how many tweets did you see me say? All right,
I know, man.
Give me Chin.
I saw him down in Mobile, and I've been, if you listen to our show, safety is my favorite position to evaluate because it reminds me a lot of lacrosse and the angles that you have to take to pursue ball carriers and things like that. And Kevon Wallace, by every stretch of the imagination, fit into the profile of the Darnell Savages, the Nasir Adderleys, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnsons of the world that you and I, Chris, we love. But, man, if you took Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or Kevon Wallace in the 4th round and you would have told me that prior to either draft, I would have told you were crazy. The Eagles just did it a year later. And, man, he brings that Philly energy. You really hear him. He's mentored by Brian Dawkins and Troy Vincent. You talk about his coverage ability. I say if Isaiah Simmons isn't there, he's at least a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
Well, I was I made an article, I think, like in regards to I made an RES article. You know, it's on mock draft based on RES, and Kevon Wallace was one of those picks, and because he had the 4th best RES in the draft as far as safeties go. He was behind his teammate Tanner Muse. But you know, it's crazy how he slipped, and the fact is, has a draft pick ever won the fan base over as fast as Kevon Wallace has?
Never.
I've never seen it like this.
He just completely immersed himself in the whole Twitter world of Eagles Twitter, and people are loving it. You know, I did comment on his Twitter saying, you know, look, come on, Flippin' the Birds, and people there's like 40 likes on it. I'm like, okay, let's go, people want it, and he hasn't responded. He hasn't responded to my Instagram post either. And
you're just sliding into all his DMs.
I'm sliding to DMs like crazy right now. But we'll see. We'll keep bugging him, and maybe he'll be like, all right, I'll do it. But you know, right now it's a crazy time for all of them, so I get it. But you know, he's just you know, green's my favorite color. You know, Eagles fans, you're the best. You remind me of Clemson fans. But it's just,
and then the Kobe comment too.
He's immersed himself in this, and I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Dawkins was like, listen, you can take 20.
Dude, Clemson safeties have a heck of a track record here in Philadelphia, man.
Last two haven't been that great.
I know. I only like to think of the good ones. Come on, Chris. You know, it's a positivity pod.
I was about to say it because I was about to make a post or an article like last Clemson one, and I was like, you know what, let me just make sure. I was like, oh, never mind.
Yep.
So following up after Kevon, we have the offensive line being addressed. What I really like so far, what I really like about this draft is literally like every position that needs to be addressed has been taken full advantage of by Howie Rosen at this point. So
hold on, that's the thing. Like people want to complain about the Hurts thing, and I explained
it's a need.
Backup quarterback was a need. And people complain about Sudfeld all the time, and
he's always injured.
He's always hurt.
When Sudfeld was being praised to start that playoff game over Nick Foles.
Oh my God, I was part of that. Like people like, all right, we've seen enough of Foles. Look at that Raiders game. It was awful. Start Sudfeld. Good thing we didn't. But you know, I'm right a lot more than I am wrong, and I was wrong in that spot. But you know, it was a need. And people were saying, you know, in all of our mock drafts, we never mocked the quarterback in the 2nd round. We never did. You know, it was either going to be Cole McDonald later on, or Anthony Gordon, or you know, around stuff like that. The fact that they got Hurts in the 2nd round, it hurts.
You were dying to put that out there.
You know, it really hurt over the weekend. You know, but then you look at it like. Now we can do all this 2020 vision and shit, you know, and hindsight, and you know, would we rather have a Hurts in the 2nd round to back up Wentz, and then a Kevon Wallace in the 4th round, or do we take a Chin or a Davis in the 2nd round, and then the dominoes after that, because let's say Hurts gets taken after that, and then that starts a different domino effect of quarterbacks going earlier, and then you're stuck with who, and then you see
Clayton
people say,
Thorson.
The second
yeah,
time.
exactly. Liam's gonna listen to this. Don't say that. And then
Terrible.
and then people are like, you could just sign Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco
Lord, no.
publicly threw Scangarello under the bus. He does not like him.
Right.
So why would you bring someone in there and that completely threw his offensive coordinator under the bus? You see his attitude right there, and people are like, well, he's from the area, he's from Delaware. I don't care where he's from. He could have been born in Lincoln Financial Field. I don't care. He's not good. It's just, you got to think about the whole picture. Like, I know the shock value was there. It was a big shock to the system. It was a shock. It was a shock to my system. I drank a lot of beers after that happened. You got to think of the big picture. So do you take Hurts in the second? You have an athletic, successful, winning backup quarterback, Heisman Trophy finalist almost every year he was in college, and then Kevon Wallace, who everybody absolutely loves. PFF loves him. People have seen him, dubbed him as a second-round talent that dropped to the fourth round. Or do we take a Chin and Davis, and then we're stuck with Cole McDonald or Anthony Gordon or
then
Jake
you lose
Fromm
out
or
on
Jacob
maybe
Eason.
John Hightower, Quez Watkins, or Prince Taya, who is arguably the biggest freaking value in this entire class.
And
exactly.
That's the wild.
You got to look at the dominoes that came afterwards.
That's the wild evil genius moves of Howie Roseman. Like, this is a
madman.
Yeah, this is a quality draft. Like, let's get to Jack first, because I want to get to my favorite pick. So he's not my favorite pick. Next one is, but Jack Driscoll, offensive tackle, who can also play guard
and center. Apparently, he was working out at center.
Yeah, he was working out center on pre-draft.
So he automatically fills the void not really a void, because Vitae wasn't the greatest example, but he fills the void.
Mm-hmm.
You mean Super Bowl starting left tackle Halapoli Vitae?
$10 million a year, $40 million guaranteed. Big V Halapuli body Vitae. Don't disrespect the man.
Sorry, Kent. He's a Detroit. He's a big Detroit guy.
Oh, poor guy.
So Driscoll.
We apologize to him for Corey Untlin already.
Yeah.
Oh.
What?
I said so. Driscoll automatically fills that role.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd say Prince, if healthy, fills that role, and Jack is just a high-end guard replacement.
Right.
Brandon Brooks, as much as we love him, he's injured. And he does battle. He has his open battle with anxiety and mental health issues. So let's say that flares up again. Then you have Driscoll to come in there and replace him. And we're not relying on a Matt Pryor. We're not, and all that. Maybe Kelsey goes down and they don't want to slide Sayamalu center, or they do slide Sayamalu center, and you put Driscoll there. And, so this line is just so versatile now, especially with all these athletes. And that was a big thing. Like, if you look at the RAS of the Eagles line right now, Dillard was really high. You could see on the left side over there, he was 9.8. Lane Johnson was in the 9s. Brandon Brooks was like a 9.8 or 9.9. Kelsey was up there too. Sayamalu was a little down. I think he was in the 7s. But you look at all the green on the line. We have a really good line that can move the pocket. Hopefully they do that again, because we all know Wentz is a lot better when he's moving out the pocket. But it's just they drafted players to fit their mold, and they didn't just draft players to draft players this time. And that's what they did last year. They just drafted players because they needed a wide receiver, so they drafted a wide receiver. They didn't, Mr. Production in the colleges. So you know what? He fills that slot.
Right.
They crossed out WR on their sheets. They were good. They had a plan finally for the first time. It seems like in a long time. They had a plan, and they went after the plan, and they did it. No matter how unconventional or frustrating it was for us, he did it.
Yeah, I agree with the Driscoll pick. And one thing for me that I focused on when evaluating this class was versatility and how they play in an Eagles system. And if you look at the offensive line, you have to be a versatile guy if you want to be a backup for them. Like, if you want to be a guard, you also probably have to be a center. Nate Herbig was the only one in the last couple of years that I can think of that was a true center. And the rest of the guys, Matt Pryor, even Isaac Seumalo, Big V, they all moved around and they were all later round picks. And the thing with Driscoll is he's a high floor guy to me. He might have the highest floor out of any of the draft picks, but his ceiling isn't going to be anything above any of these guys. But he's a guy, he's a good tactician. If he improves his strength, he can move well, as you can see from his RAS. And I think the thing that piqued their interest was how much Stoutland scouts these guys and his say is involved in what goes on in the offensive line selections, is that he worked out at center, because you really don't know the future of Jason Kelsey. And if you believe this guy has any inkling of ability to play that position and you want to bring him in, not only can you play him at center, he played tackle in college, and you believe you could play him at guard. I mean, that's versatility to a T, and he fits the mold of athletic. He can run. He played at Auburn, played big-time SEC football against some dang good pass rushers at LSU and Alabama. He's a guy that I thought they would go Prince at that selection, but hey, they got them both, so I can't be too mad.
That's
And two, you got the bookends of the Auburn line. You have battle-tested guys there, and I think it's going to pay off well. Especially, I mean, another guy like Prince, like everybody loves him already. Especially John Hightower. We'll get to him in a minute. With his grandma, but Prince on the phone, you hear him like he's telling Doug, "You're not going to regret this. He's going to come in." The kid came from nothing, from Nigeria. He came to the United States for $20. It's a crazy story, and it's an inspiring story that he's here now, and now he's starting for the best team in the NFL. He's going to be playing for the best team in the NFL. We needed guys like that. Guys that are going to be hungry, that want to prove themselves, and especially Jalen Reagor, he's going to want to prove himself. He sees all the noise. He hears the noise. He hears the things about his drops, and hears, all these things that he's not as good as the other ones. And he played with, whatever he played with. He's in my mind. I think I saw early odds that he's at plus 2,000 for Rookie of the Year odds, and CeeDee Lamb's in front of him. But then you got Joe Burrow. You got Clyde Hilaire Burrow's the favorite. Then Clyde Hilaire is right next after him, and I think Jonathan Taylor is up there too with Tua. But the fact that Jalen, he's going to be open all the time. Like if Deshaun's healthy and Marquise Goodwin's healthy, and they stretch in the field, and Ertz, you got to account for Ertz, you got to account for Goddard, Rager's going to be open all the time. He's going to have
Sanders. He was the biggest field stretcher on the field last year.
Yeah,
there's going to be absolutely every opportunity to finally bring a Rookie of the Year over here after Sanders was screwed last year.
Yep.
Completely agree with that. So now, the 5th round. This has become my favorite pick in the draft. John Hightower, pick. Pick, all right? Pick.
Who you calling prick?
I'm calling you pick.
Can I mute you?
You can't. I'm in control, Papa. Anyways, the 5th round, John Hightower out of Boise State. I freaking love this guy. Like, the separation he gets, the speed, and he's kind of like – I feel like Hightower, the addition of Hightower, the addition of Quez, the addition of Jalen and Marquise is going to end up pushing, unfortunately for some people, depending on how you feel about Alshon, but it's going to push Alshon so far down because, like, the production that these kids could really have in their first year alone with Carson and with Doug running the offense the way he is. And I really feel like Hightower's going to shine out of the group. Next to Rager, of course.
No, I do too. I think Hightower was one of my favorite prospects in the class, and when I watched him, I saw a lot of similarities to Stephon Diggs in areas of where he absolutely excels. And you see him in those sluggo moves. You see him eat up those zones in those 14 to 18-yard areas. If you look at his sports info solution, his average depth of target was near 18 yards. I mean, it's just insane with him. And to get him after 5 minutes before that, you added Marquise Goodwin in a pick swap. You didn't even have to give up a pick. How he didn't just say, okay, we'll draft Jalen Reagor, that's enough speed. He said, no, we're going to go get an Olympic athlete that runs wide receiver just as fast as he does on the Olympic
he was
track
training
field.
for the Olympic games.
Yeah, how he's one of the fastest human beings on the world, which he is. And then you add John Hightower, who plays much faster than his 40 speed was, I believe. And he's another guy that, yes, he needs a little bit of polish in his route running, but you have a guy there in Deshaun who really came in just like these three guys.
Yep.
Just like Jalen, just like John Hightower, just like Quez Watkins, had very good production in college, had very good upside in athleticism, really was raw in the route running area. Look at Deshaun now. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, if you can get one of these guys to develop into Deshaun, you knock this draft out of the park, in my opinion. The way Doug
Absolutely.
Peterson likes to run this offense, you stretch the ball down the field. You become what Kansas City is. You become what Baltimore is. Look at Baltimore. They add
Baltimore's gonna be
Hollywood Brown,
hard to
and then they add
freaking
Devin
defend.
Duvernay and James Prochet. The
They're gonna
NFL is
be
all about matchups and
hard
guys
to
that can
guard.
run. The Eagles are going to be
And
scooting.
they draft didn't they add one running back? They added a running back also. Oh my god, who they draft? Tell you right now. Hold on 1 second.
I can't think of it either.
Because I remember looking at it like, are you fucking kidding? Like you draft him too? Let's see.
Was it Dobbins?
I think it was Dobbins.
I think so too.
I really think it was
'Cause I remember it was a bigger
Baltimore.
back.
Yeah, Dobbins.
J.K.
Dobbins,
Dobbins.
yep.
Yep. So they got Queen, Dobbins, Madam Bouquet, who's a great prospect.
Yep.
Duvernay, Malik Harrison, Tyree Phillips, Breederson, who was in the fourth round, who was a lot of people thought they were going to be third, second round pick for guard. Broderick Washington Jr., James Prost, and Geno Stone, who in the seventh round. People were mocking Geno Stone in the fourth round.
Can we do a quick aside to any prospect named Gino that spells their name with an E? Change it to an I, and your draft stock will go through the roof. I'm
Seventh
telling
round
you.
because of the E.
Geno Smith, same thing. He thought he was a first-round pick. Doesn't get picked till day 2. He looks like a fool in the green room, being the only one there on day 2. Change it to an I. I'm telling you.
Same thing with Chris's. That if you spell your name with a K, you're a scrub.
Shot.
If you're a Brian that does it with a Y, you're a scrub too. Anyway, speaking of scrubs, so listen, a bunch of scrubs were not drafted to the Eagles. They were drafted to the Cowboys, Giants, and Redskins. But we're going to talk about a different kind of scrub. And the draft was very exciting and all that stuff. And it's all about new beginnings. And Manscaped is here to bring new beginnings to your ball sack. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Now listen to this. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. There's nothing better than finding a diamond in the rough in the 5th round. And that's what we did with John Hightower. The Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0 will find that in yourself. When you trim the hedges, the tree stands taller. Now listen very carefully. It's a very embarrassing story that I'm going to tell you right now. But so when Brian and I announced our partnership a few weeks ago, my mom was, oh my God, this is great. So not knowing what that meant to her, I get a text from my dad a couple days ago with a screenshot of the Lawnmower 2.0. Now that's the first disappointment that I got.
Didn't even get the 3.0.
He didn't get the
He didn't get the
3.0. He got the 2.0. Next, he said, your mother wanted me to take a picture of it and send it to you, but I figured I'd send you the box instead. And I'm like, are you kidding me, Dad? And then at the end, remember earlier I said, speaking of nuts, we'll get back to that later. My dad then texted me saying, my nuts, thank you.
Oh my God.
So be like my dad and trim your ball sack. Guys, listen, look down in your pants right now. There's your franchise quarterback. We never want our franchise quarterback under duress, right? So get the 3.0, Lawnmower 3.0. You don't have to get that. There's so many other things. The ball deodorant, I'm telling you, my dad shared it with the people that he used to work with. My dad was NYPD for 29 years. And he said said that, I wish I had ball deodorant when we were on the job. How many hours they're on their feet. That you can get ball deodorant. It makes you smell nice and it keeps you chafing free. It's great. So go to manscaped.com. Use promo code FTB, Flippin' the Birds or For the Balls, whichever one you want to know and talk about. and it's 20% off and free shipping. I promise you will not regret it. No regrets.
I completely agree with that whole statement.
Fucking dad.
So back to the Eagles.
Oh, I said scrubs, like, because you got to scrub your ball sack, too. That's why I said scrubs. Just so we're clear.
So after the Hightower pick, Eagles drafted a local kid, Sean Bradley. Still on the fence about this pick, but the fact that it's a linebacker and he's quick as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys feel about it?
Versatility. I mean, you look at Will Parks and Jalen Mills and the identity of what they're going to have their safety linebacker hybrid role kind of play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matchup-based NFL, and I think the Eagles finally figured that out. Like, they have guys that can win all sorts of matchups, and I think Bradley's another guy that he'll be a special teams ace right away coming in there, and then he can add maybe an element to competition at that position because nothing's set in stone there. I mean, Nate Gary, to me, shouldn't be on the team next year. He's not a good football player.
Completely agree.
I know TJ Edwards is good, but I don't know how much I want him in coverage. But if you have guys like Jatavis Brown and Davion Taylor that can run and Sean Bradley can show you something in coverage, it'll be a matchup-based league. And I don't think that Sean Bradley's an every week player. I think he'll be scratched a good majority of the time. But say there's a week when you can use his athleticism and coverage and you can bring him in there. I figured they draft a local kid at some point, so it was kind of not shocking to me once you saw his name called.
Yeah, Jeffrey Lurie and Howie and Doug, they always love the local kids and the local stories. And Sean Bradley, it's he does leave a lot to be desired on his tape, coverage wise and tackling wise, but again, speed and athleticism. That's the thing, like with this whole draft class. So he has that. And, if you can teach up the rest of the stuff, then you probably got another late round diamond in the rough. I think this outside of the Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor draft picks, I think they were going for diamonds in the rough. Actually, and outside of Kevon Wallace, too, because Kevon Wallace is going to be an absolute stud.
He's going to be a stud, yeah.
He's going to be an absolute stud. Like, Kevon Wallace is going to be able to – he's already being mentored by Brian Dawkins, Troy Vincent. Now he's going into a secondary with Darius Slay. Come on. Yeah, it's and also Rodney McLeod. Rodney McLeod played
Jalen Mills too.
Jalen Mills.
Those guys are going to have that energy. They're going to be dogs back there.
It's going to be wild back there.
You played alongside Malcolm Jenkins for so many years. I'm sure they learned a thing or two.
Absolutely.
So Wallace is he's going to be like I wrote in my RAS article. He's Isaiah Simmons light. Like he can do a lot of things really well. He doesn't do anything really elite. He does a lot of things really well, and that's going to fit into this defense perfectly. Between him and Jeremy Chad, I said both of them were going to be Jim Schwartz's dream prospect. Right. Absolutely. Jim Schwartz loves his safeties that can do everything, and that's what Kevon Wallace does. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see a defense. Just every other year, it's like, all right, we know our offense is going to do this. Can our defense stop letting them score 30 points a game? This right now it's constructed. I think this is defense that can hold to 20 points a game. At this point, it's pretty good. We have an offense that could score 30, so that's fine with me.
We have an offense that can make it rain.
So make it rain on me? What?
No. What? Get the Manscaped out of your mind, man.
Still thinking below the belt.
Always.
I have an interesting question. This is off topic from the picks. Would it be foul if Kevon Wallace wore 27?
There's not many options right now.
There really isn't.
I know. I don't want to leave Jenkins on bad terms. Like
absolutely not. Of course not. But
this is not a Clay Matthews type thing where last year when he went to the Rams, I think they gave up his
right away.
Gave up his number right away. He was like, "Wow!" Like it's.
And the same thing happened to the guy from Tampa, that Gerald McCoy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's just like I'm not sure right now. Like you look at the secondary, and
25 is available, but they're not giving that up.
They're not giving up 25. No way.
No
way.
Did anybody take 21 after
Jalen.
Darby's gone?
Yeah.
Jalen Swish. That's right.
Yeah, Jalen Swish. So you got Rasul at 32. You got Epps. He should be gone.
30's
37.
available.
Maybe he gets cut in 37.
I think Wallace in 37 would kind of change the whole landscape of that number.
Maybe
it's
Rudy
just
Ford.
an ugly number. Yeah. Oh, what's Rudy Ford's number?
36, but he shouldn't have that number.
He shouldn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
that.
He's talk about a terrible football player. Rudy Ford stinks.
You got let's see, you got Craig James as 39.
No,
Ugh.
it's not.
You got Kevon is 34. You got Avante 29, McLeod 23, Jalen 21, Will Parks 28, Roby
Sid,
Coleman
22.
31, Sid 22, Slice 24, Trevin Smith. Who the hell is Trevin Smith? Trevin Smith. He's 38.
It's a terrible number anyway.
And you got Trevor Williams as 41.
Let him wear number 1 and we'll call it a day.
Who has 33?
No one that I see.
That's not a bad number for a safety.
Elijah Holyfield.
Damn it. Well, no guarantee
Yeah,
he'll be
for
there.
not for long.
It's temporary.
Little nugget right now. They have River Craycraft with number 6 on.
Oh, I saw that name. What an unbelievable name. I didn't even know he was on the roster until I was checking it out the other day.
River Craycraft with number 6 on the Philadelphia Eagles website right now.
Yeah, he's a wideout that I never even knew existed until Madden. So speaking of wide receivers, Quez Watkins is next. Ran a 4.35 in the combine. Fast. How you guys
Say
feeling
the
about him?
least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Quez Watkins. He I think he was like the most productive receiver at the university outside of good Philadelphia Eagles legend in my eyes, Todd Pinkston. Went to the same university as Quez Watkins. But the thing with Quez is he's fast, but you just want to get the ball in his hands, Like out of all the guys that they've drafted, I think he would fit the role of that gadget type player out of all of them. Like people saying Jalen Reagor is a gadget player, you just don't understand football and how he runs and plays. And same with John Hightower. Like
Quez can be their Devo.
I agree because
we haven't had in a long time.
No, his average depth of target was the shallowest out of all of them. He was around like 11.8 yards, but his ability to put his foot in the ground, make men miss. I mean, you have so many options on these tunnel screens, these bubble screens, these crossing patterns that they're going to be running where they just want to get the wide receiver in space. How great is it going to be when you can throw the ball to Deshaun and he can make a man miss, and then you take Deshaun off the field and you have John Hightower and Quez Watkins who can do the exact same thing. We haven't had that in forever. I mean, Miles was probably the first element of that in a couple years, and now you have 5-6 guys that can do it. And Quez, to me, is the most gadget-type player, and for good reason. I mean, he had all the production in the world, and now you bring him into a team that there's going to be a lot of stuff open underneath with Goodwin and Deshaun and Reagor running 9 routes a lot of the time. Guys like that are going to have a role on this team.
Absolutely. I agree with that. What about you, Chris?
It's going to be interesting because we poked a little bit of fun up to Greg Ward a little while ago. And so you're looking at this wide receiver depth chart right now, and let's say if Alshon's on the team, he's most definitely starting on the PUP list. Yeah, he's going to be out till October, November. So you're looking at Deshaun Jackson, you're looking at J-Jaw, you're looking at Goodwin, you're looking at Reagor, that's 4. You're looking at Hightower, that's 5. And then you look at if they're keeping 6, do you go Quez or do you go Ward? Maybe they go 7 because of all the injuries days. I can't see them doing 7 because then that means they're gonna keep only Goddard and Ertz on active, on the roster. So it's interesting.
Well, they only went 2 tight ends last year, pretty much the whole year, right? Except for most of the year.
Yeah. For most of the year, but they still they Perkins and they picked they would have had Rodgers active if he wasn't hurt. But they're a 3 tight end team. They just in case one of them gets hurt, and then you gotta call the next guy up. But it's gonna be interesting. I think Quez is gonna eke him out if Marquise Goodwin's wife has anything to do with it. But let's say Goodwin gets hurt, that's very possible. I was adamant that I wanted nothing to do with Marquise Goodwin. Absolutely nothing to do with him. When I saw the deal and I saw that he restructured his contract, I said, okay, that's fine. If they gave anything of like real substance for him, I would have been pissed off. The fact that they only switched picks and still got him, and I think they got Quez with that pick. You know, the
Mhm.
fact is you got Marquise Goodwin and Quez Watkins for a flip of picks. That's it. So that made me feel a lot better with it. So I think if he's healthy, you got like 4-2-3 speed on one side and 4-3 and Deshaun on the other side, and you got 4-4, 4-3 and Rhaegar in the slot, or and then you got all these 4-3s and it's Jesus Christ.
Wentz is gonna be happy, man. Like
It's gonna be like Christmas every week.
Yeah, like
every week.
Wentz probably like the other thing this helps with Wentz, he's not gonna have to hold the ball on and
I'm waiting for that. There we go.
he's just gonna drop back and
Mhm.
he's gonna see that one of those people are blown past that
Yep.
that corner, or if the safety comes over the top, then he quickly goes to the second read, who's gonna be Goodwin or Rhaegar, and they're gonna be wide open and the ball's out.
Look at how many times Rager at college he won those battles
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one, and he just needed a quarterback that knew how to throw to a spot. Wentz excels at throwing to a spot. He excels at those timing routes. If Deshaun's on the field last year, he probably has 11 or 12 touchdowns. Like, no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely.
The way that he was playing against Washington, no doubt in my mind. But
100%.
we stick on the idea of insurance. You bring in Marquise Goodwin, doesn't matter. You got insurance in Quez Watkins. You got insurance in John Hightower. They covered all of their bases. They crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's to me. They didn't just draft. The thing with the Philadelphia Eagles is they don't just draft the one position and then say, screw it. Like, they double up a lot of the time, and rightfully so. Howie says it best. You're not better at picking than anybody else. It takes picks. It takes quantity. You did it with 10 picks this year. You're on pace to have 11 next year, and probably even more with some player trades. Man, this is exactly what they needed to do to me. And in day 3 of what Howie did, if you factor in Darius Slay as a part of that with the 5th round pick that was in that deal, and to move back, grab an additional 5th for next year, adding over 600 points in value according to Over the Cap's value chart on trades. Wizardry. I mean, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but that's the closest thing to real life wizardry I've ever seen.
It's Cowboys fans will be real angry next year when that 5th round pick that Jerry sent to Howie is used in a package to trade up for Jamar Chase.
Wow.
We got a bold statement already. That's wild.
Eagles, you heard it here right now. Eagles will trade the 32nd pick. Yes, I said 32nd pick.
Beautiful.
A 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick from the Cowboys to move up in the draft to draft Jamar Chase, and then you're gonna have Jamar Chase and Jalen Rhaegar for Carson Wentz.
That's the biggest sucker punch. Back to
Getting
Manscaped.
Getting a little excited right now. Just got a little sticky over here. Sorry about that.
So something that you said that I'm very glad that you made a statement on this podcast is to say it is all the speed on the outside. Carson Wentz will not be holding on to the ball anymore, pretty much.
Right.
And it's very, very crucial that people outside really understand that, because everybody was all, Carson's holding on the ball to the arm.
Because no one was open.
Exactly.
Right. Nobody could separate.
Bro, he's too focused on Hurts. He's the only one that could catch the ball, really.
Yep.
Like, what else do you want from him?
Like, that's the thing. Like with Justin Jefferson, like when I was talking to his wide receivers coach, but he was talking about the 100 catches. He was like, he's because he's the only one open. So that's why he has 100-something catches, because when he's open, you're gonna throw him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's open, and you have Jamar Chase on that same roster. But Justin Jefferson was open, so Burrow's gonna throw him the ball. So that's why he had 111 catches.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a guy like that. We had Ertz. That was it, and Goddard from time to time. But when the other people were open, you had Aguilar doing this, and
Just giving up on the ball.
you had J Jaw doing this, and you had receivers doing that. So
I'm taking names on people disrespecting JJ though. I'm coming for heads next year.
I love J Jaw.
We're a believer in J Jaw on this podcast. I'll tell you that.
Dude, and now you put him in a position, and I think they had the idea of having a big slot when they kind of drafted him last year. They did a lot of work on Debo. Now you can, if you don't want to carry 3 tight ends, I mean, JJ could be like a move, like Y type receiver that works out of the slot and can use that 2-way go to his advantage, and things are going to be open over the top. Where does JJ work best? Between 8 to 13 yards. So that's going to be wide open with Quez and all these guys just running track down the football field next year.
Completely agree.
It's gonna be and then you look at. Let me look at it before we're done. Let me look at next year's opponents. because I want to make fun of their
Real,
secondary.
real quick while you're looking. Yeah, I was going to say that. I'm sticking on the question of secondaries. You draft to beat your division. Who secondary in this division can run with 4 guys that run that fast?
Definitely not Dallas's. Definitely not Dallas's.
No way. Cheeto Awuzie can't
the
run.
Giants.
No, not at all. Cheeto Awuzie, he can't run at all. Byron Jones would have been the only one that could. Who's their slot corner? He runs like a 4.37. He's pretty good, but you're going to be running slogos all day at Ronald Darby when you play Washington, like all day long. You're going to send Jalen, you're going to send Deshaun, you're going to send John Hightower, and they're all going to eat them alive.
Oh yeah.
And then the Giants, I mean, they're still the same, and
They got DeAndre Baker, who's terrible.
stinks. Yeah, I mean, you set your team up for success to win this division.
So you got, I know they did draft Xavier McKinney, I think, right? But still, who cares? So you got the Cardinals, they got Patrick Peterson. That's really it. I mean, I like their front seven, but you got Cleveland, who's always the Brown. They drafted Del Pitt, but he can't tackle for the life of him. So you got Dallas twice. You got Green Bay, who we beat
The
them
worst
last year.
draft of all time.
Yeah,
the worst draft.
I don't want to say it, but yeah.
My buddy, he's a big Packers fan, he was like, he was just like, what the fuck, over and over and over from Thursday to Saturday.
I'll send you a Snapchat. My buddy, he's a Packers owner, and the Jordan Love pick comes up. My buddy just has him on a stream. He just walks right out the door, doesn't say a word, slams the door as hard as he could. I don't think anybody was happy with that.
Like if you're mad at Howie, just be happy that he's not.
It could be so much worse. It could be
Mm-hmm.
so much worse.
Like that's the thing. Like when people are calling for Wentz's head and all this stuff, who are you going to replace him with? And people now say Hurts, but it's like last year. Wentz, who are you going to replace him with? You want to trade him and then start over with who? Like you're not going to find someone as athletic and as great as Carson Wentz. He has 97 touchdowns in 4 years and only 35 interceptions. Like it's so
with no receiver over 500 yards.
Yeah,
that's the wild part about it.
Like I did today. I last night when I was feeding my daughter in the middle of the night, I was like, you know what? Let me research who Carson Wentz has thrown a touchdown pass to. So he's thrown 12 to Aguilar, 1 to J-Jaw, 1 to Blount, 5 to Burton, 1 to Selleck, 2 to Clement, 23 to Ertz, 9 to Goddard, 2 to DGB, my heartbreak. 1 to Hollins, 1 to Howard, 1 to Huff, 2 to Djax, 17 to Jeffrey, 1 to Matthews, 5 to Matthews, 1 to Matthews with 1 T and 5 to Matthews with 2 T's, 1 to Perkins, 3 to Sanders, 2 to Smallwood, 2 to Smith, 3 to Sproles, 1 to Tate, and 1 to Ward. Like that's who he's been. Torrey Smith.
Oh, Torrey Smith. I couldn't think of the Smith for a second.
That's who he's been working with. And he has 97 touchdowns from that.
Crazy, man.
It's just incredible. So, anyways, so we got Dallas Giants, Washington. We got the Rams, who knows if Jalen Ramsey is even playing because he might be holding out for a new contract at that point. That's Seattle. Then we got Baltimore. That's gonna be rough.
That's gonna be tough.
You got Cincinnati.
Steamroll.
Joe Burrow comes to Philly. You got the Saints. You got Pittsburgh.
That's the game, man. I don't even care about Dallas. Like, I want to beat the Saints so bad.
You got Pittsburgh that I hope if the season starts on time, then I'm going to be going to the Steelers game. And you got the Niners. It's going to be a rough year, but you still have 4-3 speed at every single spot.
You're going to be able to compete with those teams.
Yeah.
And we actually have a secondary now that can compete. So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting in a lot of aspects. It's going to be an interesting year.
So, quick question. Do we want to go over Tega and Tuhill or?
Tega's good. Still like one of the draft. Him and Wallace probably his steals of the draft.
Brian, didn't you draft Prince in our Eagles Twitter mock draft in the second round, if I'm not mistaken?
I did. If I'm not mistaken, I actually did.
I thought that's where he was going to go. I couldn't believe he was there in the sixth round.
You know what Brian did? He saw that his team, whoever he was drafting, needed a tackle. He saw who was still available, and he picked him. He had no idea who he was. He said his name is Prince. His name is Prince.
So here's the funny thing about Prince is when I did the mock drafts in Draft Network, every single time that I want to go like offensive, like tackle, whatever case may be, I always noticed that Prince used to come off the board within second or third round automatically, quickly. So then the actual couple of days of the draft, I was wondering. It's funny because my wife, she was upstairs and I'm downstairs, and they were giving his his story.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "What are you watching? There's somebody's from Nigeria." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't even know. Oh, it's offensive tackle." And I told her the name or whatever. And then like minutes later, or like probably like an hour or so, however long it took, they drafted. And I'm like, "Oh crap!" Like they actually took Prince.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to like load up on the offensive line the way they did, knowing that Brooks hasn't been healthy in 2 years consistently. Lane is iffy, and Kelsey's getting up there in age. It's kind of like I'm very pleased with this draft. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot
And
of
then
people are
Tuhill was
on
drafted as an edge rusher, so you gotta have his speed on the edge right now to develop, and
which they don't have. They have
which
nobody
they
that
don't.
can run
I
on the
honestly
edge.
think Sharif Miller is gonna get cut.
Yeah.
I do too.
I
I didn't hear great things about him either.
We have a source close to the situation that says Sharif Miller was drafted just based on his story and he's a Penn State kid, local kid, families in Philadelphia, and the video of him and his grandfather crying when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, hit Lurie and all that stuff. So, Miller was deemed lazy and all that stuff. So that's why he saw one snap all year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's done. But we can't, again, to the Hurts people. Let me just read you this tweet from Pat Ford in 2011, and Jamie Lynch from 97.5 The Fanatic retweeted this, saying, "This is how I read a lot of people's tweets about the draft." Pat Ford on April 28th, 2011 said, "My team took Von Miller. Nothing against him, but doesn't Denver already have him? Elvis Dumervil would have preferred Marcel Darius." And now you see what Von Miller is right now. Like that's the thing. Like we want to cast stones at all these prospects and say that third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks don't really work out. Second round picks should have been this. Jalen Rager was not going to do anything. It's the freaking draft, and we are still months away, if not many more months away from any organized football, depending on what happens with everything. But it's fun to project and all that stuff now, but. We have a lot of talent. We have people that we drafted that fell a lot later than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah or someone that said Quez Watkins was rated 4th, 5th round for him. John Hightower was 3rd, 4th round for him. The Eagles got a lot of steals. And all these people saying, here's a quick question before we done. Someone said, someone asked, do you think the Eagles drafted Hurts to block the Cowboys from pairing Hurts and Lamb later on?
I heard that Dallas was looking at Jalen Hurts thoroughly.
Wow.
I'm sure. You got Hurts and Lamb. Lamb had his most productive year in college with Hurts last year. So that's it's just you take them to help your own football team, but you also take them to hurt other teams too. Like it's so you look at all these picks. These picks were made for a reason. And you can't sit here and cast stones at these picks without knowing what happens later on. That's why I'm so adamant that we give Derek Barnett another chance. Up to me, I love Derek Barnett. I think this is his last chance. If he doesn't show up this year, he has all the chances in the world this year, especially with Hargrave on the team now. And rejuvenated Cox and healthy Malik Jackson, all those one-on-one opportunities that he's going to get. He needs to show up. And if he doesn't, then he's gone. It's as simple as that. Even though his 5th-year option was picked up, then you just see if you can move him. Brandon Graham took a little while to come around. I know he moved to linebacker.
That's what I'm saying. That's what drives me insane. Brandon Graham, the reason we won the Super Bowl was labeled a bust for 6 years, and then he wins you a Super Bowl, and now he's one of the best defensive ends. I mean, Sidney Jones could turn out to be the greatest corner in Eagles history.
Super wild.
I'm not
giving up on strong possibility. Yeah, it's a strong possibility.
Or J. Jaw, especially J. Jaw. Like people are we don't need.
It's only been 1 year.
People been one year with Mike Groh and Carson Walsh as his coaches.
Aaron Moorhead is going to do wonders for this.
Aaron Moorhead, fantastic. Absolutely, he is being raved about. Absolutely. And then we have the gauntlet of offensive minds.
They have the board of trustees.
That's what they have the Justice League, that table, that round table that they all sit at. And you got Doug Peterson there. You got Marty Mortonwig there. You got Press Taylor there. You got Rich Scangarello there. You got
Jeff Stoutland.
Jeff Stoutland's there. That's Deuce Staley there. And it's just gonna be a massive brain trust
Mhm.
It's gonna be
of
wild.
offense.
It's going to be great, honestly. I
And
think
Marty worked with Lamar Jackson last year, so you
Yep.
don't think he's going to bring some of those concepts over,
Mhm.
especially with adding a little bit of Lamar into Jalen Hurts packages or whatever. I'm got no worries. I got no worries.
I've never worried with Howie. He's taken us through hell and back. There's a reason why he's still a general manager.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a bad general manager in the NFL,
You
don't
last.
make it. Howie Roseman made it for a reason. As much as you want to say Howie doesn't draft well, blah, 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 for the first time in a long time, he had 10 picks. With what he did in this draft alone, he's safe in my eyes because you don't make that selection at 53 to take Jalen Hurts if you don't think you are going to be there for at least the tenure of his rookie contract. And you don't sign Carson Wentz to that extension if you don't think you will be able to re-up him for another extension at the end of that fourth year. You have everything in place, and you drafted for not just next year, you drafted for 2021, you drafted for 2022. Howie is always a step ahead of the game, and he really figured it out this time by changing his philosophy. Can they run? Are they healthy? Do they love to play football? Because in the past few drafts, you've seen unathletic players. You've seen a penguin, tortoise slow offense just take this team
You've
down
seen
the
players
drain.
give up.
You see players give up in Nelson Aguilar. I mean, you learned that the hard way with him. And you have guys that weren't healthy and weren't on the field. And that the best reliability is availability. And people talk about it all the time. And you did right by your franchise, in my opinion, in this draft. Any day of the week. If you would have just ignored the quarterback position, and we would be sitting here, say Carson, hand in my heart, I hope he doesn't get hurt. Like, I love Carson more than anybody. But, I mean, you'd be stupid to think that there wasn't a chance that he couldn't get hurt. Any quarterback could get hurt.
If you bring Flacco in or whatever, and this is the last point before we wrap up. If you bring Flacco in, how much of an offense will you have to change? If you go from Wentz, who goes down, and you got statue Joe Flacco back there. And
That's why you don't take Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason. You take a guy with that athletic upside.
And I get, like, people make the point that, well, Foles wasn't that mobile. Like he was still able to run the RPO pretty effectively. Mm-hmm. Joe Flacco can't move. He cannot move. I'm surprised he could barely walk down the street. He's a statue. You don't do that. You're not gonna sign Jameis, even before he went to the Saints. You're not gonna sign Jameis. You're not gonna sign Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna do anything. So all the options out there were either a late round project, trade for a backup. That's not gonna happen. Trust Sudfeld, which it's obviously they really don't trust him, or do what they did with Hurts. All those options, I'm thinking Hurts.
The Saints gave up a third to get Teddy Bridgewater, where they had to sign him to a deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why was nobody batting an eye at that? Like, why are we not talking about that when Drew Brees goes down and you keep your season alive? And unfortunately, they're the biggest choke artists in the history of the playoffs, and they go down again, but they get there because Teddy Bridgewater goes 5-0 for your team. Mm-hmm. What if Carson goes down for 5 weeks and you go 1-4 with Nate Sudfeld? Or do you have a guy in Jalen Hurts who can turn that into a 3-2 stretch? I'll take my chances on that. A premium position requires a premium pick. Just remember that next time a quarterback is taken high.
Yes, sir.
I completely agree. And it's funny because Jimmy Johnson actually said the two most important positions on the football team: starting quarterback and a backup quarterback.
Yep.
Sir.
So before we end the podcast, which we will in the next 2 minutes, draft grades. What do you guys think?
B plus.
I'd say B plus. I think if you walk away with Jeremy Chin in that spot, I give it an A plus any day of the week. But how I look at it is, I never give a quarterback selection lower than a C, simply because it's the most important position on the football field. Especially if you get one that was a winner, especially if you got one that was a champion, who was in the same kind of scenario as Carson Wentz, who brings that athletic upside, who people say he's not going to be on the field. They're going to find a way to get him on the field. To me, I say it's a B plus draft, if not an A minus, in my opinion. And if you don't recognize how we did on that day 3 haul, you're disrespecting this entire class as a whole.
I completely agree with that. So, folks, Gino, thank you again for jumping on with us.
What the hell is your grade? When you're gonna go out and you?
I'm going B plus. That's why I didn't say nothing.
Okay, so but you still gotta say something.
You know what I give you a headline?
A. I know
No.
today it's an F. I gotta fix
An
my,
F word. Fix that, please.
leave me alone, man. This quarantine is a struggle.
Man, just a little razor on that. You'll be good.
You're talking with your beard hairline, like your beard line, like going like
It's
zigzags. Like,
different. This is I can fix this.
yeah, no, you can't.
You know.
Okay.
Anyways, Gino, thank you again for joining us on our second
always,
season, man.
guys.
It's always a
Thank
pleasure
you,
talking
Gino.
to you.
Thank you. Thank
having
you, Internet
on.
Scout.
Oh yeah, you know what? I just got that. I tried to shrug it off, and then I realized what you said. I might be an internet scout, but I tell you what, I think we all did a dang good job in our evaluation and where we thought and the type of players that we think should be selected for the Eagles. And I think a lot of us that think alike, you guys at Philly Sports Network, a lot of us are more analytic-based, forward-thinking people. I think everybody that looks at it that way and looks at this draft as a whole, I really think they hit it out of the park. And I'm glad that we can have these type of discussions, that people that really know what's going on in Philadelphia, not these outside talking heads that just want to make a statement.
Yes, sir.
Completely agree. So on that note, guys, please make sure you guys leave a good review and good rating, bad comment, whatever you want to do. We love your feedback. And until next week.
Works.
Yes, sir.